Well, hello xenographers everywhere and welcome to another episode. And today we're going to be having a look at some of my favourite film stocks. Now, as we know, a film camera is nothing without the film that you put into it. The look that you get in your image is dictated by the kind of film that you use. Once you load that film, that's the look you're going to get. There's no need for messing about with filters, there's no need to play around with electronically adjusting things. Simply put in the film cartridge and let the chemicals do the rest. Although the range of film stocks has decreased in recent years, we've unfortunately no longer got Kodachrome, for example, there are still a good range of films to choose from, and those films will give you some really nice looks. And of course, the film stock you use depends on the look that you want. Some people go for a natural and a lifelike look. Personally, I'm not too keen on that. As I see it, all images are a representation of reality, whatever that is. So, natural and lifelike isn't really what I go for. I like saturated colours. I like an image that transcends reality. That's sometimes said not to be the professional choice, but that is the kind of look that I like. I like a film that gives a very distinct look. I like a film that has a signature. I'm not too interested in recreating exactly what the world looks like to the eye because A, I'm not sure that's achievable, and B, I think an image that has a little bit of punch is a lot more fun. There's no doubt that film is a very old technology now, it's perfectly true, but it does have some advantages over digital. It can give much more dynamic range in an image. It handles overexposure much better than digital, although it's not so good in underexposure. There digital does have the advantage. Like any medium, like any technology, film has its pros and cons, but I find it a more magical process. Yes, it's slower. Yes, you have to pay to get your negatives developed. Although if you scan those negatives, that brings the cost down quite a bit. But there's something about the action of light on silver halides that is magical. There's no other word for it. I've selected 5 of my favourite film stocks, and those are Cinestill 50, Cinestill 800, Ektar 100 ASA, Fujicolor 200 and Kodak Gold 100. So without further ado, here are some images shot using those various kinds of film stocks. I've had a lot of fun shooting them. I hope you enjoy looking at them. So to begin with, let's look at some Ektar. This is a film I've been playing around with quite a bit recently, and I have to say I really like it. It's said to be not very good with lighter skin tones, but as this picture of my friend the Wise Guy from 1932 shows, I think it does a pretty good job. It's true there is a slightly pinkish tinge to the skin, but I actually rather like it. It has a low contrast look, which again personally I find very pleasing. The darker tones are rendered slightly bluish, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Technicolor 2 strip. I took this shot in the early morning, round about 7 o'clock, and you can see the slightly pinky, slightly bluey tones that I mentioned. In this shot, in the blacks of the tree, you can see the reddish tint. It was quite a foggy morning, and I think overall it does a really good job of giving that early morning feel and flavour. It's very well suited to the natural world and to landscapes. Here it's rendered the greens and the browns really nicely, and you can see that in the darkest parts of the shot, again, there's a quite pleasing blue tinge. This shot again demonstrates the film's unpredictable nature. This shot has quite punchy colours, whereas others don't. Whatever the case, so far I've liked every shot this film has given me. Here's our Wise Guy again, no doubt waiting to drink a cup of tea with some of his disreputable friends. In this shot, the film has rendered the green of the leaves really nicely. And here's our Wise Guy again, with his insatiable thirst for tea. Here's another lovely low contrast image, clean, clear and simple. Colours seem to me very pleasing. And I've yet to encounter the problematic pinkness in lighter skin tones that some have spoken of. This film definitely has an old school feel. This shot looks almost like it could have come straight out of the 60s. And here we can see an emphasis on blue tones, both in the shadows and the bars of the gate. Skin tones, though, look pretty accurate to me. This is why I love Fuji 200. Punchy colours, good contrast, just lovely. A really great all-purpose, all-round film. It seems to do everything really well. It's rated at 200 ISO, which is a good compromise between speed and grain. And in this shot of a graveyard, the autumn colours are rendered really nicely. It's got great tonal range, and it's probably the film I use the most. It's also good for taking pictures of people jumping off rocks, and for pictures of spooky trees. The images you'll get with this film are slightly on the cool side, which personally I really like. It's got great colour rendition too. This shop dummy was very happy to be photographed by him. No fee required. And autumn browns and greens look very nice indeed. Here a London bus makes its way through space and time. One of my favourite colour films, a really nice all-rounder. Cinestill 50 has a definite old school feel. This image has a flavour of the 1960s. To me it has a slightly Kodachrome type feel. It's a very slow film, ASA 50, so it's best used in good light with a fast lens. It can also be a bit unpredictable. Light leaks are not unknown. Here again the film demonstrates its old school feel, and I can't help being reminded of images straight from the 1960s. It's balanced for daylight, so this shot under electric light doesn't show it at its best. Even so, I quite like it. Using this film, with a bit of luck on your side, the whole world can look like a movie. This shot might be the nearest you can get to Kodachrome without actually using Kodachrome. Could this be the holy grail of 35mm film? It's definitely unpredictable though. Here it seems to have bumped up the oranges and reds at the expense of everything else. This shot has a definite urban feel. It couldn't have been shot on anything else but film. This film really looks like film. Here we can again see the film's unpredictable nature. I don't know why it has this brown cast, but for me, unpredictable is good. A little hand from serendipity, whether you want it or not. Sometimes the colours are quite accurate. This shot and the previous one could have come from two entirely different film stocks, but I assure you they were shot on the same roll. I love shots of mundane, ordinary life, and it doesn't get much more ordinary than this. Service wash anyone? The next shots are all taken on Cinestill 800, a much faster film, 800 ISO, and balanced for tungsten lighting. It does tend to have a very blue cast in daylight, and the high speed means that images are pretty coarse and grainy. Of these 5 film stocks, this is probably the one I like the least. Most of the images I've shot on it were shifted quite far into the blue, but sometimes, on rare occasions, that blue shift can work really well. For this image, it just seems to work. Whereas this image, at least as far as colours go, is a definite fail. As, I have to say, is this one. But of course, this is only my opinion. If that looks what you want, this film will give it you by the bucket load. It does work much better under artificial light, as these three gentlemen will attest. The ducks had no opinion on the matter and preferred to remain taciturn, whereas this young fellow had plenty to say and can best be summarised as, "Oh dearie dearie me, how tiresome it is to be repeatedly photographed." Finally we come to Kodak Gold 100, deservedly one of the most popular films from the film days, and still available today. This is a lovely all-round all-purpose film with great colour rendition. This was my go-to film in the film days, and I've shot hundreds of images with it. It's soft without being low contrast, it has a very fine grain, and it takes pretty good pictures of oranges. If, like me, you like your colours enhanced a little bit, you won't go wrong with this film. It renders details very nicely indeed, and it's got great tonal range. It's very good in tricky lighting situations, and I'd be very hard pushed to choose between this film and the Fuji. If you're looking for a good all-round film stock, this could well be it. It's great in pretty much any naturally lit situation you'll encounter. Although perhaps not surprisingly, the chemistry does seem to have changed a bit over the years. This shot is from the late 80s and definitely has a different look. And this shot from the mid-90s is different again. Although to be fair, there was quite a bit of artificial light in this calf. So there we are, 5 of my favourite film stocks that are all freely available today. They're all C41 processed, so you can get them developed at any high street developer. I've had a lot of fun shooting them. I hope you do too. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time for more xenography. Thank you for watching.